Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Welcome to another edition of the show. A little later on, we're going to be talking to local activist and former politician Arthur Hadland about the Electoral Boundaries Commission. He attended one of the meetings in Dawson Creek and had some things to say, so we'll hear his take on representation of the North in the Legislature. But first, Isabelle Cayford's daughter Adaura passed away in July of 2020 after battling Dipg, a terminal brain tumor. Her family is still lobbying to have Canada institute May 17th as a National Day of Awareness for Dipg, and they've got some new initiatives and fundraising drives in Adaura's name underway and in the works. So to chat about all that and so much more, we're joined now by Isabelle Cayford. Isabelle, welcome back to Moose Talks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here once again. You guys have established a foundation in Adaura's name, which is quite an accomplishment. Can you tell me a bit about that to kind of start things off, and maybe even why you decided this was something you and your family wanted to do?
This is something that we talked about with Adaura a little bit before she passed away, and she always wanted to just help children. Of course, in the last 2 years, life was a little bit harder for us.
Yeah.
But this Christmas, we decided to join together all the Cayford families, grandpa and brother and sisters, and we all raised money together, and we sponsor a family for Christmas. 2 little boys and 2 or 3. It was fun. And we actually got us together closer. So we said, you know what, it might be hard to be out there a little bit, but it's very great. It felt good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you started the foundation. You said you kind of talked to Adaura about it to help children. It seems like a way you can give back in so many ways. You've already mentioned it. One of the things is you want to help people out at Christmas. You also have some other ideas in mind, maybe a dance, sort of a grant for a dance festival, or I think something else here, maybe sending some kids to Camp Sagatawa. I hope I said that right. As all part of this, as you say, for helping children, eh?
Well, with launching Adora's Foundation, we got our certificate here. We called it Adaura Wish Fondation with the French word on it. My children are all from the French immersion. So we went around and we want to launch this foundation with the sponsoring of Burger King and Ford Motor. They're gonna help us raise money every year and bring awareness for the IPG every May 17. So Burger King is doing this every year. So we're kind of very proud to announce our association with these 2 main company in town, and with this money that is raised, we want to keep it here in the community, and we would like, now Adaura would graduate grade 6 this year. And now in a French immersion, they go to French camp, and they always together.
Yeah.
What we would like to do is always set, maybe we can do like grade 3 when Adaura was the last time when she went to school. So I reached out with the central school, and we're going to create a grant, an annual grant, where we're going to send 2 children to Sagatawa camp.
Gotcha.
That is the last camp Adaura did before she was diagnosed. She was actually diagnosed 9 days after she came back from this camp. And it's very, it's a fun thing. So we want to do that every year. And then my kids were a Highland dancer.
I see.
And Adaura was on her way. We were on our way to a competition when we ended up at the hospital. What we wanted to do is keep ourselves involved with the dance studio, and we wanted to offer the dance studio a grant every year for some of the kids that dance. So we're going to do this with the money raised here in our community.
Wonderful. Lots of different ideas there, and lots of sort of spreading it around. What kind of families are you hoping to help? Because if I remember right, DIPG, it's not just families struggling with that, perhaps, that you're looking for, because it is fairly rare, if I remember right. But you're it's broader than that. You just want to help families kind of in general who might be struggling with something at the time, eh?
Yes, that's what we want to do. Actually, when we went to Ronald McDonald House with Adaura for almost 3 months, Adaura would always say, all these little kids look so brave, and they all had their tube, they all had like physically aware that they were struggling. Adaura, you couldn't tell. So she always like, I don't know if I should be here. I think we should be helping them, Mommy, what we can do for them. So it didn't really matter what was wrong with. She just wanted to make the kids smile. So in Canada, they say 30 to 40 children will be diagnosed with DIPG every year. This is rare. So we wanted to help the children with cancer, but we want to help children. So if it's just a struggle with a different disease or a different reason, then we're all here.
Absolutely. Now, part of this is that you came by last year, which was kind of the first time we happened to meet, is you were pushing a petition to have Canada institute a National Day of Awareness for DIPG, which is coming up because it's already happened in several other countries around the world on May 17th.
Yes, May 17th.
You're still working on that, of course, but first I wanted to talk a bit about the city is doing something, aren't they?
Yes. We've been working very hard to get May 17 as awareness for DIPG. Australia, United States, Europe, so we just want to follow the same date. Here, the Fort St. John city declare May 17 Awareness Day here in Fort St. John, so they will light up the Parmore.
At the Centennial Park
Yes,
stage
that's
there.
it.
Gotcha.
But we have a group here in Canada where 5 or 6 families together that has been working to get this May 17 going. And we got great news. May is already a brain cancer awareness month.
Okay.
So May 17 will be for DIPG. We have Le Chateau Frontenac in Quebec City that's going to light up his lights for May 17.
Wow.
We have the CN Tower in Toronto that's going to follow us too. So for us here, our Cayford little gang here, we're pretty proud to say that Fort St. John's going to follow these big cities and do the same. Now, we are still working this year on the petition. It's kind of a little bit harder to get it this year, but last year we went over 4,600 signature. So we are hopeful to declare May 17 Awareness Day. It would help to educate the public about this disease. It will encourage funding to support ongoing research. It will increase dialogue in the professional medical community, further publicize and promote Canada's involvement in the fight against the IPG, and in honor the victim of this terrible disease and their family. Now we know about 30 more children will be faced, and their family will be faced with the devastation of the IPG, and we would love to be a part of the we would love to not have them to fight alone, and the government should be a big support. And especially with the IPG is no survival, and the children has 9 to 12 months to survive, and we have to watch them lose each important living
Sort of like function of their body.
That's the word I was looking for. And so it is very devastating to watch your child become blind, deaf, and not being able to walk, and you have to just wait till they pass away. So the support should be while it's happening and after the aftermatch.
Now, I think you were saying before we went on the air here, you guys have made some progress in that you're, I believe, if I understand right, you first of all have some political power behind it. You've got a Liberal MP and some others who are going to be helping out, and you're perhaps making a presentation of some of this group you're talking about. Is that correct?
They're presenting to get a bill.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
And we already have one MP this year again from Toronto. Now I forget the name. She already presented it.
Oh, okay.
She went in with 24, 25 signature, and now we're just waiting for to be accepted. And the minute the government accepts it, then now we can all start voting again. The thing is it's probably going to be like this every year for a long time. We just don't want to give up. The government is not listening. It's such a rare disease, and cancer, no one wants to talk about cancer children, and the government is a part of it too. Is only 1% the money that goes to research for children cancer. So we need to make it louder. It is very uncomfortable. People don't like talking about children sick, but it really happens. And then when we get this, we fall into a world that we had no clue exists, and it's a big world. And DIPG is one of the worst one, only because of the way they're dying. And they have no chance at all. It's been the same thing. I think the first, they say it was 1926 that was declared the IPG. It's been that long.
Wow.
And there's no cure for that. It's just, the cancer for the IPG is a glioma cancer where it spreads everywhere. It's not like it creates a ball where you can remove it. It just goes everywhere, and it's in the liquid, so you cannot take it out. And hopefully the technology and getting together to raise money and for our government to listen and pay attention. Our kids are suffering and our families are left behind now. We have other children. Little Tyler in Edmonton passed away too. He's got the young brothers and sister. And my big goal with Adora's Foundation is to get into the school system and to be able to have a protocol for them to be able to use to help our children. I really wanted to say thank you to Mrs. Caillou and the principal at the high school, and how they know how many times I lost my mind with the. They're so good to me. I need to say thank you to them. We need to say thank you for Central School for keeping Adaura alive and all these children there. Everybody knew Adaura for like 6 years and they still talk about her. And I go to their school and they talk about her. So Adaura is graduating grade 6 this year. And we're going to be represented by a certificate when we go to Central this year.
Wonderful.
So we're gonna feed them lunch. Now it's grade 6, so they graduate and they're going to the next step of their lives. And I love the fact that they're keeping us in their heart.
That's wonderful. We've got just about a minute left, Isabelle. People listening who maybe want to help out in some way. They maybe want to sign the petition if that's still going out. They want to be at the barbecue that's slated for July 1st at Fort City Chrysler to raise money. What can they do? How can they get a hold of you if they say, I want to throw in some cash or I want to do this or what have you? What's the best thing they can do?
We have a email address for Adaura.
Okay.
And now this is all attached with a bank, and we can receive e-transfer there. And it's AdoraWishFoundation@gmail.com.
Okay.
And it's, of course... open up to do anytime, or you can phone me too on my cell phone, 250-793-6723, and we can arrange the donation.
Gotcha. All right, Isabelle. Well, I really appreciate you coming by and reaching out again to come talk about this, and I wish you good luck in working with Parliament to get that National Day, and congrats on having the city do something for you and on the foundation. Thanks for stopping by again, Isabelle.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. It's Isabelle Cayford, who's trying to establish or has established Adora's Wish Foundation. We'll be right. Welcome back to the show. Now we're going to be joined by someone who attended the Electoral Boundaries Commission meeting in Dawson Creek that was earlier this week. He's a former politician and activist, and everyone I've talked to who said he was going to be here today had a story to share about him. I'm very pleased to be joined by Arthur Hadland today on Moose Talks. Arthur, how you doing?
Very good. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you very much for taking some time to be here today. So let's talk a bit about the commission. You went to one of the meetings and you did, I believe, speak at it. I just wanted to start with what you heard from most of the people who were there, and maybe even what the response from the commission was like in general. What was the mood of people who attended that meeting like?
Well, what I saw, there was well over 100 people attended.
Yeah.
It was in Dawson because, unfortunately, we didn't seem to have a venue in Fort St. John. Mm-hmm. The commissioners, there's 3 commissioners. There's the chief electoral officer. They were basically bureaucrats.
Yeah.
And another woman who was part of the bureaucracy. But the chair was a Supreme Court judge, and she was listening. I was sort of impressed and pleased. Mm-hmm. This is the second time I participated in them, And we had one, I don't know, must be 10, 15 years ago, where they actually split north and south.
Okay.
And so we were in Beldonald, we're voting in Dawson Creek, a crazy world that we live in. The thing is that I was most impressed with the people that attended. They stood up, they spoke their mind, they wanted to see the two electoral areas, north and south piece, maintained. We're a little bit endangered there because our system is a British Westminster system.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody understands that, but it's very rigid, comes from the British. And there was an old idea that went back to the Papillon Rebellion, 1837, representation by population. Old idea, bad idea for us. And so we need to readdress that using geography and our resources as a major compelling argument for retaining at least two constituencies here, north and south. And I was suggesting maybe we should ramp that up and have one for representing Fort Nelson. There's a bit of a good reason for that, and that goes back to the Atlan at one time had their own MLA, and that was done away with. And I think, having driven through British Columbia, where I saw the Lower Mainland, over 4 million people inhabit Vancouver Island and the Lower Mainland, and there's 5 million in the province, so there's less than 1 million of us in the hinterland. And we have the resources and the geography that allows us to grow as a province.
Absolutely.
And it has to be recognized.
I think Dan Davies has come on here many times, and he's brought this up. It's very important to him. He says, like his constituencies the size of are bigger than some small European countries, whereas some of his colleagues in Vancouver, there are a couple city blocks in terms of geography. The idea is, you can't just make this about how many people live in a spot, because then all of BC at some point may be one giant electoral area, and then Vancouver, essentially.
Well,
right?
we'll have no representation.
100%.
There's about 66,000 north and south of the river. I was just down there at the BC Cancer Foundation, and just down the street on Broadway is George Hyman's office. He's a minister. I'll bet you he could walk to the constituents of 60 or 70,000 people, whereas Dan and Mike Bernier are really disadvantaged. I mean, they have to reach out a long ways to meet their constituents. I think that needs to change. There is a system that would work, and I threw that out the last time I made presentations. The Swiss probably got the most democratic system in the world. I really believe that. It's called the Canton System. And there, you really do have representation by the people, and it's a much more honest system. Our system is anti-democratic. I don't know if anybody realizes it, and it doesn't matter what color you put in front of the party, whether it's pink, green, red, whatever you think is the right color. Those people are not, the representatives you elect are not directly responsible for the constituents. They sign an agreement that they're subservient to the party system, and it really destroys democracy. Anyhow, I think our system here is, we tend to destroy the democracy, as I understand it, by and for and of the people. And then we have failed policies. And I'm going to take a run at this, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Is the carbon tax. It's a false initiative. If the people in Lower Mainland want to contribute to that, let them do that. But I have a perfect example, and I think this speaks to all the people in our constituencies here. If you get your natural gas bill out and look at it, there is a whole bunch of costs in there that they seem to add in there. I don't know, delivery charges and company use delivery riders and on and on. But the one that I'm going to focus on is your commodity charge, the actual natural gas that it takes to run your house. And then on top of that, the carbon tax. In my instance, and I don't know, maybe I'm a bit out of a flavor of some people, but I think a lot of people have this. The last bill I got, which was for 2 months, was $800. So that means $400 a month to keep us warm at home. During the winter, it was the harshest part of our weather, but the actual carbon tax was 54% of the 54%.
Yeah.
And if anybody's curious enough to look at the our 3-year fiscal plan, our budget, and I really recommend everybody out there, I mean, there's easy access with computers now. The carbon tax contributes over $2 billion to our budget, which is $64 billion. Our natural gas royalties, and I think this bespeaks of the lack of understanding of how important our resources are, is $223 million. So you have an M and a B, and it's about 10%. So our resources are not giving the full credit for the value they contribute to the province.
And to bring this all back, I mean, if there was better and more representation of the North, Victoria would be hearing this, or would be more likely to hear it.
I think so, and it's just not our region. It goes across on the other side of the rocks, Prince George, all the way down. And I really believe that this carbon tax should be removed, at least for the residential people, if not for agriculture, the other resource sectors, the forestry and the petroleum industry. I really think that we should not be paying it, because that just goes into the big slush fund called the provincial budget, $64 billion. It doesn't contribute to any sort of positive changes in climate change or anything else. And it's crazy to think that it would. I just don't see how it can. And if the people have got mass transit, they've got a consolidated system of transport down there, fine, let them pay. But up here, we've got to drive all the way down there to meet with family, do business down there. And I just did that 2 weeks ago. We are losing, and losing big time. I think the carbon tax needs to be removed. Well, north of Hope, we don't need it. And it's not contributing a damn thing to climate change, to bettering climate change. I'm grumpy about that. And so that's a failed policy. There was other failed policies I thought too are well, I guess I can't help but not mention Site C. That is a failed one. That will not work in the end. I mean, the Premier was up here doing the glad hand, but that thing, there's just too many problems. The Shaftesbury shales are just old mud, and it'll be just like the Peace River Bridge in 1957. But anyhow, that's a story for another day. But that is a lose-lose deal. Yeah.
All right. Well, I did want to quickly say there is still a public process open for this on the Electoral Boundaries Commission online if people want to until the end of the month. You can Google that and find out. We have a minute left because I wanted to make sure I ask you about this. You've written a book a bit about your family history. Can you tell us a bit about that and what that was like writing for you?
Well, I guess over 20 years, my father has stimulated me. He lived to be 100 years old, so I had the advantage of wonderful stories about times gone by. And I think every family in every part of the region has those stories. But my family came from a fairly educated background in England. They had suffered a depression, lost the whole shoot match. They had a wonderful farm back there. And so when they moved here, they were impoverished, $5 to get through a winter. So I've captured this into a book, and I was just doing it for family.
Yeah.
And then one day the light came on. I thought, no, I have a disease called multiple myeloma. It's a form of cancer, and we have the leading edge of cancer research and treatment in the world. I think maybe Israel takes a run at us too, but we are leaders. And so I'm distributing it, and you can get free copies from me, or you pay a little $1 or $2 at the museum. It's available, and those funds will go into the BC Cancer Foundation. They're hoping to raise $50 million for cancer research, and it's all forms of cancer: breast cancer, uterine cancer, and the most recent stuff in technology. So I would encourage anybody, if they're the least bit interested, contact me, the museum, and we'll make sure they get copies, because I got lots of them.
All right. Well, Arthur, I really appreciate you driving out to see us today and taking some time to chat with us. Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
It was a pleasure likewise, sir. Yeah, I like this. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. That's Arthur Hadland, as I said, activist and former politician and local author.